Miss Ford, I have a question. You hear from Tupac lately?
My addiction is not one of the cool addictions like sex addiction.
You are nothing but an illegitimate bastard.
There's nothing that can make you feel quite as shitty about your body as taking a trip to the Chapel Hill Whole Foods. I went there last spring to eat lunch with my friend Christine, and we were also coworkers, so we were chatting about work as we walked back to my car. And we get in my car when we hear a knock on the window. And we look outside, and there's this man standing there who's potentially homeless. He's like very disheveled. He's missing a few teeth. And I'd seen this man back at checkout. He was buying 2 hard-boiled eggs that he was holding on a to-go container lid. And my first instinct when I saw him was, that guy looks really weird. I should judge him. Followed immediately by, oh, that guy looks really weird. I should be nice to him. And so you can see from that train of thought that, like, I'm not actually a good person. I just pretend. And so when he knocked on our window, like, me and Christine were kind of like hesitantly rolled down the window. And he started talking very rapidly. He was like, I heard you guys talking about business, and I just started my own business, and I wanted to know if you guys wanted to come work for me. And like, me and Christine both wanted to be nice in that situation because we like pretend to be good people. But we also wanted the situation to end as quickly as possible. So Christine was like, we work at a nonprofit. We don't know anything about business. And that did the trick. Like, it shut the conversation down pretty quickly. But before he left, the man turned to me and he said, watch out for your friend. She's kind of cute. And we rolled the window up and we drove away. And I was like, how the fuck does this homeless man know that I'm the ugly friend? Because growing up, I had always felt like the ugly friend. Like, my friends were beautiful, and they were blonde, and they were all 5'10". And like, the popular boys always liked them, and they never liked me. And sometimes I would think to myself, like, maybe it's all in my head. Like, maybe people think I'm pretty, and they just don't tell me. But freshman year of high school, the guys in my school created the hot list of the top 10 hottest girls in my grade. And they all signed it, like John fucking Hancock. And I didn't make the top 10, which was so devastating because there were only 20 girls in my grade. I went to a tiny private school with only beautiful people. And I took this list as evidence, as written, signed proof of all of my worst fears about myself. Because growing up, I always knew that I was smart, that I was funny, that I was talented. But I just didn't care that much about those things because I wanted the one thing that I didn't have, which was to be pretty. And I knew that my friends were smart, and they were funny, and they were talented, but I couldn't even really connect with them on that level because I was so busy comparing myself to them and seeing them as romantic rivals and seeing them as bodies. And to me, being pretty meant one thing above all others. It meant being skinny. And thoughts of being skinny consumed me. I really don't think it's an exaggeration to say that I thought about being skinny every second, of every day. And trying to be skinny was like trying to tread water. I was doing so much work just to stay afloat, just to breathe. And it felt like if I let go, I was going to drown. And I eventually left that school with only beautiful people, and I went to college. And my first semester, I took a course in gender, women, and sexuality studies, which was my first introduction to feminism. And one day we had a packet of readings on body image. And I was reading through, and there was this story of a researcher talking to a group of little girls. And she asked the little girls, "What's the worst thing you could possibly be?" And they all said, "Fat." And she said, "Well, what would happen if you were fat?" And one of the little girls said, "I would be dead." And when I read that, I recognized myself in that little girl. And I kept reading, and it said, "Fat phobia is one of the last socially acceptable forms of discrimination." And when I read those words, it was like these waves of truth just hit me, because it was like, here were these academics, these scholars who were smart and published, telling me that the problem with myself wasn't that I needed to lose those last 10 pounds. The problem was that I spent my entire life trying to lose those last 10 pounds. And I remember walking into the cafeteria that day and thinking, I could eat that piece of pizza and not be a bad person. I could eat that ice cream cone and still be loved. And after that day, feminism became this sort of religion to me, because it was what helped me make sense of my body. It was what helped me make sense of the world. And, I read feminist blogs every day, and I performed in a drag show twice. And I participated in a naked photo shoot to empower myself, although fortunately those photos never made it onto the internet. And I began to see my friends as more than just rivals. We'd talk about issues, about feminism. And I still wanted to be skinny. It still felt like I was treading water. But it was like feminism was this dock. And if I needed to, I could just rest my hand there for a while and take a break. And I thought that one day, if I just believed in feminism enough, if I just read enough blog posts, one day I could pull myself up and walk to shore. And senior year rolled around, and I was graduating with honors in gender, women, and sexuality studies. But I wasn't that happy about that, because I'd suddenly, and for no reason that I could really explain, just gained 40 pounds. And it felt like I was drowning. I couldn't look at a picture of myself without wanting to throw up. And I could barely look in the mirror. But at the same time, I knew that, this was all just bullshit from the patriarchy. I had read enough blog posts to know that, this was just crazy. But, it was so ingrained in me, I couldn't help it. And I just was trapped in this limbo of, hating myself, but trying to love myself. And I was just stuck for about 2 years. And I made my world very small. One time I was at my cousin's wedding, and everybody else was out on the dance floor, and I really wanted to go out on the dance floor because I love to dance. But I saw that there was a photographer taking pictures above the crowd. And I thought that if I went up and danced, that he might take a picture of me. So I didn't dance. I just sat at my table with my jacket on, just in case he looked my way. And eventually I just felt like I couldn't live like this anymore. And so I made a plan for what I could eat and how much I had to exercise. And every time I wanted to stray, every time I wanted to eat a piece of cake, I'd remind myself that I was fat, that I was ugly, and that if I ate that piece of cake, no one was ever going to love me. And I lost all the weight. And it's right around this time, when I'd reached my target weight, that I was sitting in the car with Christine when that homeless man knocked on my window. So I just didn't understand why I still wasn't good enough. Why even after I was skinny, somehow I was still uglier than Christine. And I was just inconsolable about this. I brought it up with everyone. I talked to my family about it, my friends, my therapist. Because I live in Chapel Hill, I talked to my acupuncturist about it. But nothing was really helping. But around the same time, I started doing stand-up comedy. And I decided to write a set about this experience. And I took that pain and that humiliation, and I boiled it all down into one joke. And this joke is not true. I know that everything told in the Monti has to be true. But it is true that I wrote this joke. and it goes like this. A few months ago, I was standing with my friend Christine when a homeless man came up to us. He looked at me and said, "Watch out for your friend. She's kind of cute." I went home and was like, "Dad, this homeless man thought Christine was prettier than me." And he was like, "Honey, any homeless man would be lucky to have you." And when I told that joke, it totally killed. And I just felt like it finally mattered. I fully appreciated that I was smart, and that I was funny, and that I was talented, because that was what helped me get my power back. And this joke, it didn't fix everything about like my conflict with my body image issues, my feminism, but as my therapist so often likes to remind me, change is incremental. And healing, it's not a straight line, it's often cyclical. And about a month after I wrote that joke, I went back to the Chapel Hill Whole Foods. And there was a different homeless man in the parking lot. And he looked at me and said, "Hey, beautiful, you're too pretty not to smile." And I knew that as a feminist, that was a really annoying thing to say to a woman. So I was like trying really hard not to smile. But I just felt these waves of like cosmic justice and like redemption, and I couldn't help it. I smiled.
That's Hannah Strom.